Elite chess players keep accusing each other of cheating. Seeds of doubt have grown into a disturbance among some in the game's top ranks. This is an article on the New York Times written by Dylan Loeb McLean on December 25th, 2023. Okay, let's start. This is an era of milk and honey for those who live, breathe, and make their livelihood from chess. But like family members fighting over a piece of bread at the dinner table, the top players cannot seem to stop getting into disputes about the integrity of the game. All right, the latest episode concerns Hikaru Nakamura, one of chess's top stars, and Vladimir Kramnik, who was world champion from 2000 to 2007. Last month, in a series of blog posts on chess.com, the world's most popular chess site, Mr. Kramnik insinuated that Mr. Nakamura had probably cheated while playing on the site. Mr. Nakamura did not respond to a request for comment for this article. Now, this is the first spot we have to stop, because I have to be very clear on this. When it says I did not respond to a request for a comment on this article, this is a little bit disingenuous for the following reasons. Mr. Dylan Loeb McLean, who wrote this article, the journalist in question, he has actually emailed me directly in the past. We have had correspondences via Gmail, or via email, Gmail basically. And he has my email. He also worked for various chess groups in the past, so it would have been very easy to get my email, or frankly just go on Twitter and find one of my social media accounts where I do have all inquiries which can be redirected there. But he did not do either of that. Instead, what he did is he sent an email to my stepfather, who is quite a bit older, does not actually read a lot of emails, and misses many things to begin with. Now, my stepfather did mention this to me one day before this article was published, so I had some idea there might be some article or something along these lines. But of course, in one day, I'm not going to be able to respond to something. So that's the first thing. I would just say that as far as Dylan is concerned, he has one of my emails. He has many emails that he could write to me from, but he didn't do that. Instead, he tried to send an email to my stepfather, whereas he's directly written to me. Like, we've directly corresponded in the past. So this is a little bit disingenuous, if I'm being honest, because he could have written to me directly. So, but anyway, let's keep going. In one post that he subsequently deleted, Mr. Kramnik, without mentioning Mr. Nakamura by name, wrote that in one streak of 46 games, a player had won 45 games and drawn 1. Mr. Kramnik then wrote, "I believe that everyone would find this interesting." After it became apparent that Mr. Kramnik was referring to Mr. Nakamura, he added in another post on November 21st, "Having checked Hikaru's statistics carefully, I have found numerous low probabilities performance, both of him and some of his opponents." In other words, he implied that Mr. Nakamura's results were very suspicious. Okay. When reached for comment on Friday, Mr. Kramnik said that he never meant to say that. When a reporter pointed out to him that his words could be misunderstood, he said, "Of course it is not an accusation," adding that people could interpret his comments however they wished. Yes, now this is where, to be fair, let's be honest. If I go and I say that someone has many different streaks, or I say like their rating is 3,400 or whatever it might be, like there are definitely insinuations, and trying to say that that's not an accusation when everyone took it to mean that, it's just not reality. That's the bottom line. It simply is not reality. On Sunday, chess.com closed Mr. Kramnik's blog and muted his account. In a statement posted to social media, chess.com said it had met with Mr. Kramnik numerous times and added, "Our team carefully investigated many dozens of players about which GM Kramnik raised suspicions. In the vast majority of cases, we found his accusations baseless." Mr. Kramnik said in an email that he had received news of the account closure from an associate, not directly from chess.com. He added that there was no warning and said that for the past couple of months, there had not been a single communication attempt from them. Now, this also is funny because when he says not a single communication attempt, it's very clear that he says that chess.com says here they have had communication with in the past. In fact, they've actually let him raise his concerns with them, and they say in the vast majority of cases, we found his accusations baseless. So they already have gone out of their way to indulge him as a former world champion. And clearly in the vast majority, they found that they have no merit whatsoever. And then he says there had not been a single communication attempt from them. Now, the problem, I don't know if this article is going to mention it, is that the reason that this that the account was closed is because he made insinuations about a 12-year-old kid from Turkey, and he was basically saying that he was going to mention someone one day after another who he was quote unquote suspicious of. But let's keep going. All right. Mr. Nakamura is not only one of the world's top players, he is also one of the game's most popular streamers with about 2 million followers on both his Twitch and YouTube channels. He did not take Mr. Kramnik's claim lightly. Mr. Nakamura said that Mr. Kramnik was cherry-picking the statistics that he was using, and he said on one of his streaming casts, you don't get to make false accusations when you're not an expert. You don't get to make false accusations when you don't have data to back yourself up. Now, this, of course, exactly what I would say, because when Kramnik talks about my streak, there's actually, ironically enough, there's this 12-year-old Turkish kid who I played where I beat him a couple of games to get to 45.5 out of 46, and then I lost 2 games against him right after, which already proves the point. Just as if you look at the stats, I think at the front half of the 46 games, I beat a guy, Nico Theodoru, but right before I went on the streak, I drew a game against Nico. So if you look at the actual entire stats from that day when I had the streak, playing against those players, it was more like 40. It was probably 45.5 out of 46, so that would have been 46 out of 47, and then 2 losses, which means it should have been 46 out of 49, not 45.5 out of 46, which are the stats that Kramnik tried to use. And of course, this is also very true. He is not an expert in statistics. He continues to not understand how farming works. He continues to pretend that every game is independent of each other when it is not independent. Given the high profiles of the 2 players, the controversy has swept the chess world. Mathematicians and amateur players have weighed in with their opinions and statistical analyses. Chess.com, which has its own system for detecting cheating, posted a statement saying, "We take all cheating accusations seriously." In the case of the recent accusations against Hikaru Nakamura by Vladimir Kramnik, we have generated nearly 2,000 individual reports on Hikaru's games in our fair play system and have found no incidents of cheating. Mr. Kramnik was incensed by the statement. In a blog post on the same day, he wrote, "Calling my recent efforts on help improving anti-cheating efficiency of chess.com's platform accusations of Hikaru Nakamura by Vladimir Kramnik is a clear public disinformation which obviously can cause huge image damages to me." He demanded that chess.com retract its statement, threatening to sue if it did not. Okay, let's keep going. To date, chess.com has not done that. Before his account was muted, Mr. Kramnik told the Times that he was shocked by the reaction of Mr. Nakamura at chess.com to what he wrote and that he had suffered damage to his reputation as well as personally to his family. Now, first things first, Kramnik obviously is someone from a different generation. You do have to keep that in mind. He is not from this age of the internet. He grew up, he was an adult before the internet really revolutionized everything. And that is very important to keep in mind, because when he talks about personally to his family, I have to tell you guys, the amount of times on the internet that someone has made a threat against me, like there have been many times that someone has said something, and that is really just the nature of the internet. In this internet age, people make threats, people say things, there's nothing you can really do about it at the end of the day, and you really have to just deal with it. That is simply the reality. Whether you like it or not, that is what happens. That is one of the prices, that sounds wrong, but that is sort of a price that I have to pay for being a public figure in many ways, and everybody has to deal with that if you're gonna be like very loud and very vocal on the internet. Doesn't matter what field you're in, that is just how it goes, period. Doesn't matter who you are. So that is very important to note in terms of what he's saying here. But also when he says he was shocked by the reaction of me, here's the other ultimate problem and the crux of the issue, which is when Kramnik was shocked by my reaction, the problem is that when Kramnik sees my reaction, he's assuming that it's because I have something to hide, whereas the reason for the reaction is the fact is you do not get to go making accusations like this just because you want to. He has no statistics to back it up whatsoever. There are no statistics. All my games are on stream. Chess.com has looked at my games. Frankly, I feel like thousands of GMs, let alone thousands of people who watch every stream, look at my games. So when he sees that, he's like, he's trying to hide something or something along those lines. That's simply not the case. And as I've also, I think, mentioned, I have published those streaks of games on my YouTube channel. So anybody is free to go watch those videos. All that information is out there for information in terms of how they want to try and prove that I cheated, because obviously I haven't. So that's the main thing. As far as the whole shock thing, my perception of it is that Kramnik's like, he's like, but wait, why are they acting like this? If cheating's a big deal, these are pros, and the company, they shouldn't want any of this. The reason is because you don't get to do this with your platform when you don't have anything to back it up. That's the bottom line. So let's keep going. He said that he had received at least one death threat on chess.com and that when he reported it to the site's administrators, they banned the person who sent it. He said the website took no action beyond that and did not apologize to him. What? Oh, they were supposed to apologize to him because some random person out of their 100 million users made a death threat against him? Huh? Really? Okay, that's pretty wild. Again, different, you know, Kramnik's from a different time. He's from a different time. He's expecting certain attitudes or things to be a certain way. You know, I swear, if I could get like a penny or even like a penny, if I could get a penny for every time someone said something, if I could get an apology, I think I would actually probably be I'd be worth many millions of dollars. I really think I would be. It seems to me that they are not doing what they can do to fight against cheating, Mr. Kramnik said, so I will continue to do it myself. He added that he intends to file a lawsuit against chess.com and Mr. Nakamura. He is preparing the case now. This is also pretty funny to read too, because Kramnik, as you can tell from the article, is making very clear insinuations and accusations. And I think if he actually talked to lawyers about this, I think he knows exactly what is going to happen if he does that. And it's not going to be pretty. So let's leave it there because I don't really want to say more. But you know, people should also realize at the end of the day, there was a certain legal situation that occurred over the last year. So I actually have spoken to lawyers a lot. I mean, probably a couple times a month on average. I mean, I would say for the last like 6 to 12 months. So I have already spoken to actual lawyers about this, and if he wants to do that, he's free to do that. But I know exactly what's going to happen if he chooses to do that. So anyway, let's keep going. There is some significance in Mr. Nakamura's being involved in a brouhaha in which he is accused of cheating because the roles were reversed last year. That case involved Magnus Carlsen, the world's top-ranked player and the former world champion, who accused Hans Niemann, a rising American star, of cheating shortly after Mr. Carlsen lost to him in a tournament in St. Louis. Mr. Carlsen then withdrew from the tournament soon after chess.com released a report saying that Mr. Niemann had cheated in as many as 100 games while playing on its site over the years. Mr. Niemann had admitted to cheating twice on the site and years before the game against Mr. Carlsen. A representative for Mr. Carlsen did not respond to a request for comment. Mr. Nakamura was a vocal supporter of Mr. Carlsen during the episode, pointing to the chess.com report as proof that Mr. Niemann could not be trusted. In the uproar that followed, Mr. Niemann filed a lawsuit against Mr. Carlsen, chess.com, and Mr. Nakamura, seeking $100 million. The International Chess Federation, also known as FIDE, the game's governing body, opened an investigation into what happened. Okay, now this is also, I mean, I don't really want to get into the weeds on this, but when they talk about me being a vocal supporter of Mr. I think it says where were we? It says vocal supporter, right? Lost him at tournament. Right. Yeah, here we are. It says I can't read, but vocal supporter Mr. Carlsen. Now the one thing that I do want to say on this topic that's very disappointing to me is when people look at this topic, I think a lot of people to this day still want to believe that it was like Magnus did this just because he lost the game, or, you know, I said this because of chess.com or Magnus or whatever. The fact of the matter is, and I will reiterate this point just one final time, there were many top players. I'm talking multiple people in the top 10 who expressed concerns privately about Hans's games. So this was not something that came out of the blue, and even after this became a big deal, a lot of these people have been able to sort of fly under the radar as though they never said anything, simply because they didn't make their comments public and they were not part of the lawsuit. Nepo was outed. Everybody knew about Nepo already, but there were other people who were extremely vocal as well. It was not simply all about Nepo. So let's keep going. There's a big difference between privately and publicly, though. Well, the thing is, we all sort of view ourselves as part of a brotherhood in a sense. Sure, we're very competitive, but we are all kind of part of a brotherhood, and so then you sort of expect them to support you, and then they all kind of go quiet, and the whole view of the situation is kind of viewed very differently, and as opposed to what the reality was. And hopefully one day there's something about the topic, hopefully. But let's keep going before we digress too much. All right. The game's governing body opened an investigation into what happened. The lawsuit was settled in August for undisclosed terms, and Mr. Niemann was allowed to play again on chess.com without restrictions. In an interview, Eric Alabas, one of chess.com's founders and his chief executive, described the relationship now between the site and Mr. Niemann as very professional, though he admitted that Mr. Niemann had ghosted him and Danny Wrench, the site's chief chess officer, since the reinstatement. This month, the Federation, which had delayed weighing in so as to allow the lawsuit to run its course, released its report. It was more of a whimper than a bang. The Federation concluded that Mr. Niemann had not cheated against Mr. Carlsen during their game in St. Louis. It also found that Mr. Carlsen had behaved improperly when he withdrew from the tournament. The Federation has a code that prohibits players from recklessly accusing others of cheating, but it found that the admission of earlier online cheating by Mr. Niemann and chess.com's report had given Mr. Carlsen sufficient reason to doubt Mr. Niemann's veracity. The Federation also found that Mr. Carlsen had not disparaged Mr. Niemann's reputation or brought ill repute on the game. Indeed, the report suggested the attention from the controversy had been positive because it may have piqued the interest and awareness of many persons about the game. Mr. Carlsen was fined 10,000 euros or about $11,000 for his withdrawal from the tournament for what it deemed was an invalid reason. Mr. Carlsen has earned tens of millions of dollars from chess, so the fine is not likely to set him back. I am happy to be finished with the case, Mr. Carlsen told TV2 in Toronto, where he was playing the Champions Chess Tour final this month. It's clear that there were worse scenarios. Okay. Terrence Oved, a lawyer for Mr. Niemann, wrote in an email on Friday that Mr. Niemann was not satisfied with the Federation's ruling against Mr. Carlsen. Mr. Oved said the Federation had the facts wrong because Mr. Carlsen accused Mr. Niemann of cheating before Mr. Niemann admitted that he had done so in the past and before chess.com released its report. Mr. Oved added that his client thought the fine was too low given the damage caused by Mr. Carlsen's accusations. Okay. As for Mr. Niemann, he had a bad competitive streak over the last 12 months as the lawsuit and controversy played out and his world ranking slipped. But in a tournament that ended December 1st in Zagreb, Croatia, Mr. Niemann had an exceptional performance. In a competition filled with strong grandmasters, he won 7 games and drew 2, losing none. He finished in first place, 3 points ahead of his nearest competitor. It was the equivalent of a runner in a 1600-meter race lapping the field when crossing the finish line. Afterward, Mr. Niemann posted on the social media platform X a photo of himself alongside a photo of Bobby Fischer, the American world champion who had a dominant performance in the same city 53 years ago, with the comment, "Two lone Americans up against the world facing immeasurable odds." That might have been the end of it, but one of the players he beat, Ivan Sokolov, said in a post that Mr. Niemann's moves matched those of the best chess engines 98% of the time. Mr. Sokolov also wrote that there were a few anti-cheating measures during the tournament. Okay, this is hilarious. Mr. Sokolov could not be immediately reached for comment. The event organizer also posted on X and seemed to implicate Mr. Niemann. Niemann's performance is out of this world, but we have no definite proof that he is cheating. We have some indications, but we don't know if anyone wants to report him. The event's organizers did not respond to a request for a comment. Mr. Oved, Mr. Niemann's lawyer, said the comment from the organizers was part of the continuing fallout from the episode with Mr. Carlsen. Anytime that Hans wins, someone will probably accuse him of cheating, he said, but Hans has proven to be incredibly resilient and strong. Okay. In the background of all this, chess tournaments have bigger prize pools and more spectators than ever before. Chess.com just wrapped up the Champions Chess Tour, a year-long series of tournaments featuring the game's top players with $2 million in prizes. It was won by Mr. Carlsen. The site is also approaching 160 million users. Wow. Mr. Alabas said that chess.com was doing what it could to stamp out cheating and was evolving its methods to find cheaters. He admitted that some people did still get away with it, though he was certain that number was very small. What Mr. Kramnik has done is not helpful, Mr. Alabas said. Being suspicious is not the same thing as being certain. He added, it doesn't frankly help to spread suspicion. You create hysteria by going public. Now, this I think is also very important to sort of wrap up this article here. This is very important to wrap it up with this little bit here, which is that the thing now is that there's this big topic, like there's all this rage about like cheating this, cheating that. Like chess.com has said very clearly, I think they said something between 1% to 3% of players they think are cheating on the site or something along these lines. Something like that is what chess.com said when Danny Wrench did a State of the Union, I think it was called, or State of Chess, whatever they call it, a while back. Now, again, is there cheating? Are there people getting away with it? Absolutely. Is it a serious topic? Absolutely. But when you start going around and literally just basically throwing these accusations against people over and over again, let alone me, or whether it's Yigi's Khan or Dogmas or whomever it might be, like, that does not make it better. It really feels like it's trying to like erode the confidence. It feels like we're in this situation where nothing good can come from this. And at the end of the day, you have to realize, regardless of how good Kramnik is at chess, chess.com has been dealing with cheating and trying to have fair play or anti-cheating measures in place more or less for the last, like, I don't know, they've been around since like 2010. So for the last like 13 plus years, they've been trying to evolve and improve their methods. And Kramnik is someone who's not spent a lot of time online. He hasn't played online very much. I think he said he's only played online over the last year. And so what he's doing here is not helpful. And I completely agree with what Mr. Alabes says about trying to stamp it out, and how like you creating this hysteria, it really starts to erode confidence in the game. And even beyond that, I think it's very bad when you see these things happening without actual proof, where people start accusing each other, because for the general public, it looks very, very bad. It makes chess players look like completely deranged psychopaths who, as soon as they lose a game, or they aren't the best or something like that, they're just going to accuse someone they can't accept that they lost the game. And that actually is a real problem, I think, in terms of trying to raise the profile of chess. So I think on that note, yeah, this was an article I really felt like I needed to cover this, considering that the journalist did not reach out to me directly. He has my email. I mean, I checked my email to make sure that I wasn't insane, but he has my email. And the fact that a couple of people I know who are not in chess, psychopaths, toddlers, man children, whatever you want to call it. I mean, you pick the words you want to describe it. But it's not very good. That's the bottom line. It's very bad. When a couple of people that I know who are not really close to chess mentioned this to me yesterday specifically, I felt the need to respond. Didn't say you declined to comment. Well, unless my stepfather sent an email unbeknownst to me saying that I declined to comment, there was no communication whatsoever. And as I said, on my social media profiles, on my Twitter page, for example, Twitter/X, I have an email there. If you reach out to that email, I will see it. I will see that email. And likewise, Dylan has one of the emails that I use. It's not the main one anymore, but he has access to one of the emails that I have used in the past. We've had direct email conversations before. He could have reached out directly. So yeah, I mean, it's very unfortunate to see this. I mean, Zitter, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, but it's not good for chess. That's the bottom line. This is not good for chess, and it erodes the confidence. It erodes the confidence for sure. So on that note, you guys, that's the article we want to cover for today. Obviously, I mean, I think this is slowly going to die down. I actually, to add one more point before we move on, I'm very, very proud of the games that I played on chess.com. I've played so many games over the last 10 plus years on the site, and I like to believe that whether it's Magnus or myself or other top players, when we're playing on the site, we're giving chess.com all these stats, all these data points of games that we're playing, and I do believe that they can use these points. And so I'm very proud, because I do think that my games and Magnus's games definitely help with anti-cheating measures. I do believe that. So that's the bottom line. I mean, I think it's very sad, very unfortunate, but I mean, I just hope that eventually Kramnik wakes up and smells the coffee. So that's where we're going to leave it for right now. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, make sure to smash that subscribe button below, and we'll be back with some more great drama very, very soon. See you guys. Bye.